Good morning. Welcome to Moms in Real Estate. I am very excited today to have Amy Gregory as our guest. She was on a long time ago and a lot's changed in her life. And I'm excited to talk about some current issues with her, and you'll get to know her and love her as much as I do. So let's get started.
Angela Fazio is an industry powerhouse who has overseen 40,000 homes sold and $9 billion in production. And Kristen Cantrell is one of the nation's most accomplished team leaders, helping thousands of agents build their businesses. They are passionate about educating, encouraging, and empowering moms in real estate. Our next episode starts now.
Hey, Amy, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Kristen's not with us today. She's on vacation. What is that? I don't even know.
Lucky her. Lucky her. I'm on vacation right now too.
I could be on vacation right now, right? It's weird because some people are like, "Hey, but hasn't the world been on vacation for like several months?" No. What are you talking about?
I am busier than ever. In fact, my husband is going with my kids this weekend on vacation, and I'm staying home because I've got clients that need to get under contract.
Wow, that's
going to get clients under contract this weekend, you know? So,
well, give us a little background of your business, your parent, being a mom. Just give us some background for people who haven't heard from you before.
That's like a loaded question. So I'm a mom to four. My kids range in age from 2 to 13. And I headed back to real estate, about 4 years ago. Prior to that, I had always worked from home. I had freelance graphic design businesses and online storefronts. And it was kind of in doing those things that I'd always been licensed because I worked for a home builder before I had, in a whole other life, I worked for a home builder. And so I'd always been licensed, but I kept in those other businesses is where I really learned social media. And I would sit and tell my husband, I'm like, I don't know why real estate agents aren't using social media. Someone should be doing it like fashion bloggers are doing it, because fashion bloggers, I was working with fashion bloggers a lot with my other businesses. Fashion bloggers and real estate agents have the same business model. We both sell other people's inventory for a small percentage. It's the same business model. And
my gosh, I never thought of that before.
Yeah, and so we know that social media is a fashion blogger's bread and butter. And so it's the same, it's true for real estate. And so during that time, that's when Fixer Upper was blowing up and HGTV was all over the place. And I kept telling my husband, he's like, well, why don't you do it? And I was like, okay, I'm going to. And so I shut down my other businesses and I went full-fledged into real estate, and I just had the most successful year of my life up until that point. And I was literally pregnant with my fourth baby, showing homes, $1 million homes with swollen ankles in a minivan with crushed goldfish. Because if you drive a minivan, you know there's crushed goldfish also in that minivan.
That's right.
And then ever since then, it's just been this most amazing roller coaster of just growth and challenges and learning and just helping others along the way. It's been so fun.
Yeah, I want you to describe, with some level of detail, what did you do? How did you start with that social media? What was your focus? What was your goal, your ideas? How did that progress? Because it's brilliant. You have so much success with it.
So the thing with, I kind of was, every good idea, it takes time to develop, right? It's not this happens overnight and you have this aha moment and everything clicks into place and it's done. That's not realistic. You and I both know that, right? These things take time to develop. And so I kept having this push to go back to real estate, and it felt kind of foreign to me. I was content where I was. But the thought was, I just kept thinking social media would work. And I wasn't sure how I was actually going to get back into real estate. But I knew I had to shut down my current business and put my whole focus right there, which was a risky move at the time. We relied on that income. And so we kind of made adjustments and cut back, and we did it. And I initially started, when I started back to real estate, I started doing some consulting work for one of the old home builders that I had used to work for. And I was doing social media consulting for him and like rebuilding their website and doing a bunch of like advertising, marketing, consulting work. And it was kind of in that process that the idea began to develop more. They had a product that they were doing actually out in Eastmark. And I kept telling him, I'm like, your ideal client, like you're talking to moms. You've got to talk better to moms. Like, I know it's super energy efficient and that's really, really great. But no one cares past a certain point. You know, they want it to be energy efficient to hear anything above, I don't care, right? And so I kept saying, I'm like, you know, we want to know where the barbecue's happening and how it interacts within this community and what the lifestyle feels like. Where are you bike riding to and what do the schools look like? And kind of this, I kept calling it like lifestyle marketing, which is really what fashion bloggers do. They do this lifestyle marketing. They sell this lifestyle. And so as I was like developing this, I realized, oh, that's what I'm going to do on my social media is I can talk about creating home and creating this lifestyle, and not everyone sees it like I see it. Like I walk into a house and I'm looking for where the backpacks go. How are we doing family dinners? What does Thanksgiving look like? What about Super Bowl Sunday? Where's the pool? Like, what's the lifestyle that this house yields me? Oh my
God. So that is, I'm telling you, you're brilliant. Just in the thinking with that. You guys need to rewind that and listen to that again. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Right? Because people buy homes, they buy on what? Emotion.
Yeah, you're buying this, like home is super personal. I mean, it is the background of your entire life. And I bet if I asked you about your childhood home, you could probably tell me incredibly specific things about it.
I can.
Yeah.
Yes, I can. And I have a terrible memory. Terrible.
But you could probably, I could tell you about our swimming pool and our water basketball games and how my mom would wake us up early on Saturday mornings and we'd have to do all the yard work, but then we'd get to invite all our friends over to play water basketball, like every single Saturday, right? And so you want to kind of find, and that's what people are trying to buy. They don't even actually know that's what they're trying to buy, but they're trying to buy something that allows them to create space for like childhood and family and lifestyle. That's what they're looking for. And I just decided, listen, I'm not everyone's agent, right? If you want a condo in the city, I'm probably not your girl. And I'm okay with that, you know? And so I just kind of stayed in my lane and I started doing home tours. That was the other thing I started doing right off the bat is I had relationships with builders and I would talk to them and I would say, hey, I mean, can I come in? Can I do a home tour? Can I feature your properties? And they were like, of course. Why wouldn't they? Like, it's just free.
Yeah, it's free marketing.
Yeah. And so it became a thing. And I would just talk about how I would live in the space.
Wow. And so let me ask you this, because I know I haven't asked you this before. So you've got your social media that tells the story, right? Mm-hmm. And then you get a client. Do you feel like you just kind of fall into that same narrative when you're talking with them? Like,
yes.
Okay.
Like,
so
they already know, like, and trust you.
Wow. That's really cool.
They know you. People actually do know me, and which kind of sometimes feels funny. But what would happen is you would start to get, I would use social media as well as a time to like educate consumers, right? So people get on social media for 3 reasons. They get on to be educated, they get on to be inspired, or they get on to be educated, inspired.
Entertained, probably.
I can't remember the other one. Oh my gosh. That was going to bug me now. Oh, or entertained. Educated, inspired, or entertained, right?
Yes.
And so there were parts of my home tours that became entertaining because I remember there was one that I walked. It was a model home, and they had a lot of brick inside the house. And it was like different brick all over the place. And I remember like I go through live. And so you kind of sometimes catch, if you know me well enough, you'll catch when I'm like, okay. Right. And I try really, really hard to yeah, but there became a thing about brick, like faux brick inside, and it became like an inside joke with everyone. And it somehow became, and then suddenly it seemed like every house I walked after that had brick. And I'm like, okay, and we've got a brick wall right here. And I would just say that, and the DMs were like, oh my gosh, what is it with all the brick? Like, and so you kind of get this really fun banter and these inside jokes, and it just really builds community. It just really builds community with one another, and you feel like you're on the same team.
Yeah, and that the thing about sales, anything, if you make people feel like they're part of your story, you've already got them.
Oh yeah, so and that's it's all about storytelling. If you're not telling a story, get off. No one cares.
Right. Absolutely, absolutely. So just note to audience, if you need to understand this better, this is your chick, right? Wait. That way. So
an example though, Angela, of I was talking to one of the agents in my group. She just joined my group over at EXP, and we were doing like a deep dive yesterday. And I said, okay, we need to figure out what's your story, and what's the story you're comfortable sharing. Listen, I'm not sharing like how I'm parenting. Like, I'm not comfortable sharing my parenting on social media. Like, I don't really want to do that. But there's certain aspects of my life that I am comfortable. So we were talking about it, and she's been like homeschooling the last 4 years. And I'm like, oh my gosh, start sharing it now, because that is your audience. They want that value from you. And that's how you build relationships. So it's all about building relationships. And so we kind of did a deep dive of like, hey, home is taking on such a different value right now, right? Home is increasing value exponentially over the last 3 months. And so you need to be talking about how you're homeschooling in your home, where you're working in your home, like what are those dynamics? Like, that's where you add the value, right? People get on to be educated. So you have to add that value, and that's a great value add. And then just this 20% over here is about you being a real estate agent. That's just part of who you are. And so then it starts to marry up like that.
Yep, absolutely. It's so funny. I've talked to so many people whose opinion has totally changed about what is home. Mine has
too.
Mine has really, really changed. I realize I have a lot of kids and my house isn't right for it. Like I learned that, and I learned for a lot of
movement for that too. That's a lot. I've seen a ton of movement out of state, right? Because either people are looking for jobs. I read this morning that 25% of the American workforce is out of work. 25%. That's bananas.
Astounding. That's astounding.
Bananas. And so people will be forced to move for various reasons. One, they either need to downsize, okay? And so as agents, we need to be sensitive to that. Two, they're going to be moving out of state for work, right? And so I think every agent should be building a referral arm. They should be networking with agents in other cities and other states, and they should be building that out. And then number three, I also think we're going to see a lot of people moving because they now realize that they can work from home. So they can live anywhere. Like I have a client coming in from Dallas. He's like, well, we know we can work from home, so we're going to go live where we want to live, which is here.
Wow. Let's talk about that a little bit, because if we're going to, and we're successful, and if we're going to continue to be successful, we have to think forward and say, what am I going to be ready to do? What am I going to be ready to do when things pivot again? Because it's going to pivot again, right? Probably more than once or twice. Yeah. So you and I were talking about that just a little bit before we went on air. Let's dive into that a little bit. What's your opinion on it?
It's okay. My opinion on is it's going to get harder before it gets better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. That's just my opinion. I don't mean that to sound doom and gloom, because I actually think we're super, super capable of going through the hard. And I think there's a lot of value in going through the hard on every level that we're facing right now, right? With pandemic situation, and also with just like civil liberties issues that we're facing right now. We got to go through the hard, and we're going to go through the hard. And if we all can go through the hard, on the other side, it will be amazing. But you have to navigate this hard, right? And so I think you have to look for people like that are in those situations that are going to need to downsize and that are going to need to move for jobs, networking with other agents in other cities and other countries, like not countries, other states. But then also looking like allowing social media really gives you the ability to lead in a really genuine and authentic way, and kind of give people social permission. Like, listen, if you're out of work, you should sell your house, and that's okay. You're not alone in that. You're not alone in that, and that's okay. Like, it's okay to downsize right now. That's okay. And in fact, sorry, go ahead.
When we had the housing crisis, that was a housing crisis. This is like a world crisis, right? That we're experiencing. And I think that what happened in the 2008, all that, a lot of people stuck their head in the sand. They didn't want to admit that something was going on, and they didn't want to think about it. I think that it's appropriate, and I just started thinking about this right this second. I think it's appropriate that we as leaders in the real estate industry do what you've just said. Give people permission to face their circumstances with dignity. Like, okay, this is not unique to you. This is a whole bunch of people all over the place experiencing difficulty and hardship. So let's talk about it, and don't stick your head in the sand. If you need to make some changes, then let us help you in the ways that we can help you, and let other people help you in the ways that they're equipped to help you.
100%. I actually think we're on the precipice of like something
good
amazing.
Word.
Like something amazing, because I can't think of a time like historically. I mean, if you had told me 4 months ago that the US economy would come to a complete halt, I would have been like, no, like there's no way. I mean, because our economy was healthier than it had ever been, ever. Like, our unemployment rate was unreal. Anyone that wanted to work was working, right? Mm-hmm. Had you told me, oh, that's going to happen, I would have been like, actually, I can't mathematically compute how that would possibly happen. And yet it did. And so I hear everyone calling it like the great pause, but I also think it's this great equalizer, right? Where I think as a country and even as a world, never have we all been dealing with something so similar at the same time. It's kind of fascinating to me.
It is fascinating. I hadn't thought of that.
Even with, and then with all of like the civil issues that are being brought to light right now and that we're all going through right now, it's again a same thing. And so all of these things are very layered and very interconnected. And I think as like within the real estate industry, we have a great opportunity to learn, to like lead and to learn and to grow. Mm-hmm. You know, like frankly, owning a home is how you build wealth in America. That's the easiest way to build wealth within America. And so we can look for opportunities to grow that for like other people that haven't had the chance or the same opportunities as us. Gosh, it's a cool opportunity to be like, oh, I have that skill set to make that easier. And that should be on my radar. It should be on my radar.
And not only that us, the leaders who will rise up, first of all, if you're not around people who are thinking positively like this, you need to get around some new people, right? You need to get around some new people. But I'm so passionate about it. It matters who you surround yourself with. But it's interesting because in real estate, it's not just this home ownership that we get to deal with. It's always interwoven with life changes, job changes, kid changes. It's always interwoven by that. And so we get to bless and serve people going through all of these things. And if we're really good at it, it's a ministry. It's a great thing that we can do.
100%. I feel like I'm a part-time therapist, right? And I actually seek out opportunities to like learn how to process through things so that I can help my clients better process through the transaction. It's like moving is listed as like one of like the top 10 most stressful changes, right?
Yeah, and it's coupled with others.
Yeah, when we layer that with kind of the pandemic and all of the civil things going on right now, there's a lot of layers of stress going on. And unemployment, right? Like there's a lot going on. And I just think there's this incredible opportunity. I mean, you would stick your head in the sand, but I think you would very well lose your business.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't think people are going to put up with it. They're out of patience.
I'm yep.
If I'm
they don't want it.
And I've been quarantined and I'm also a person of color, and then you want to show up and be like, beep, beep, beep. No.
No, you need to need to show up with people. Yep. Yeah. We need to show up with people. We need to be better than we've been. We need to get better. We need to surround ourselves with better people. We need to know more, and we need to execute excellently. And I'm excited about that.
And the thing is, Angela, is I think the other thing that we have to like take off of ourselves is this idea of like doing it perfectly. Listen, I don't know about you, but I've never real estated through a pandemic. Never done that before. And I love, Brene Brown always calls it an effing first time, or in kid terms, she calls it a terrible first time. Like the first time you do anything, it's going to be terrible, right? Like the first time you like try and change and grow and do it a little bit different, it feels really uncomfortable. It feels really, really hard. And I think what we have to remember is that everyone is feeling that way right now. Everyone is. And so to just not do anything really is a major disservice, because then you never actually grow that skill set, right? I'm not professing that I'm going to step into this space and do it perfectly. I'm surely not.
Right. And you know what? Some people just don't even want to, they want things to go back to normal and be business as usual and conduct themselves in the same way. And that's just not realistic. Let us help you.
I want to build a new normal that is exponentially better than the normal we've been existing in. Because I actually think the normal we've been existing in has been fairly complacent.
I agree.
And that sounds hard. I mean, for myself included in that, right? Like, it's been fairly complacent. And so this has been, the last 4 months have been a good smack in the face for me to say, oh, yeah, I'm capable of more. I'm capable of better. And now we all have the choice to say, are we going to do it or not? I don't know about you, but I'm doing it.
I'm doing it.
I'm doing it.
That's one of the things that I actually learned during the quarantine, because I consider myself such a driver, like always go and always improve.
Well, that's what we've always related on, because I think few people outdrive me, but you could outdrive me. Yeah.
And I'm going to say this straight live. I was complacent.
Yeah.
I was getting too comfortable. I was settling in. And I look back and I was like, who is that girl who was settling in? Nope. Not doing it. Well, I'm going to tell you that. What's that?
This is so much more fun to like look at things like you've never looked at them before, to take opportunities that you hadn't noticed before or realize that were necessary. And even better, to realize that you have the exact skill set needed to solve some of those problems. The exact skill set.
So if you're watching and you don't know if you have a skill set, or you've not thought about this before, we need to talk. We need to talk, because this is it's hard. It's going to be uncomfortable, but it's exciting. And if you can get that perspective on what we're going through and what we're going to continue to go through in this industry, if you embrace that and do something with it, you will just have a life and a satisfaction that you can't even imagine. So let's talk about it if you're feeling down or you can't get your mojo or whatever you call it, because this has been a bad thing that's brought all this wonderful stuff up. And so that's the attitude I choose to have going forward.
Yeah. And you have to allow that. You have to allow the good to come. Like, we always know that the sun comes out after the storm. We know that. Like, we know that. Historically, it's always been that way. And so we have to like work towards that end. And I think real estate is a really fun arena to work towards that end, right? And ultimately, though, Angela, too, is like, you have to say, like, this also is a business. It's a business. And one of the ways I actually think that you can like affect change is you and I are capable of, we're drivers, right? So you and I are capable of growing businesses. And as you and I like put our heads down and get to work and grow businesses, it allows for more opportunities for those around us.
That's right. I love that part. That's my favorite part.
Responsibility. That is part of the role I play, is I have to put my head down and get to work, because 25% of the American workforce is out of work. We can't sustain that. So everyone kind of has to collectively put their head down and get to work. Get to work, you know? And that part's exciting to me. And we also know that, like, maybe I don't want this to sound disingenuous, but we also know that in the greatest times of change is where actually there's opportunities to make incredible amounts of money and like build incredible businesses and be incredibly successful, because there becomes these vacuums, right? Because so many people put their heads in the sand that now there's vacuums get created.
Lots of room.
As much as I say, put your head down and get to work, you got to look up and see what's going on and say, okay, where's the vacuum and how can I fit into that space and lead out in that space, if that makes sense.
Oh, I like that. Well, not unfortunately, fortunately, that's where leaders and people who are willing to work hard can really make the best of this situation. I'm so excited. I'm glad to have talked to you again today. If you want to work with us, we're really delightful, and you probably can. Just come on, let's do this together.
We're a good time.
We are a good time, actually. And so Amy Gregory, you can find her. Tell us how they can contact you, where they can find you. Is it easy?
The best way is on Instagram. My handle is @AmyGregory. Shoot me a DM. Come follow along. Come be a part of it. Be part of the conversation. Like, social media is for building relationships. So don't just come and be like a silent follower. Say hi. And because I want to know. If you don't say hi, it's a two-way street, right? So you got to be.
You have to raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys for watching. Stay on after I go off the air.
Right.
But thank you guys for watching. Tune in every week. Share this with your friends. This is good information. This was an extraordinary episode. God bless you guys.